Very good morning to you. So, how do we stop people being radicalised?
Good morning. How do we stop people from being radicalised is a key question that we are grappling with ourselves. Of course, as Londoners, our heartfelt grief, pain, sorrow, prayers for the families who have lost their loved ones and those who have been injured. And of course, commendation for the officers who did actually so swiftly attend to the scene. How do we stop people? I haven't got a clue, to be honest with you, except that we are all asking that question. We would like to work together. I've got some ideas. I need to start by referencing what you said earlier on about community policing. I think it's very important. We need to increase the numbers, not cut them. And most importantly, we need to create partnership between people. We need to all feel empowered. We need to feel inclusive. And in our inclusive narrative, we need to drown the voices of extremism. And we also need to create authentic, moderate alliance of people of all backgrounds, not just Muslims, but Muslims and people of faith and no faith, to say we're together and we are all together against such evil from all parts of the world.
Okay, look, I think that the problem with all this is that all these words sound great. You know, Theresa May sounded great yesterday. Every time we have one of these attacks, everyone talks great words. What we need is action. It seems to me there is a very precise issue in the Muslim communities around this country, which is that there is a level of extremist ideology being espoused, the Wahhabist version of Islam, interpretation of Islam. We have Saudi and Qatar-sponsored mosques, which have a lot of doctrine going on, which is very extremist, and is being funded from outside this country by people who have a very, in most people's eyes, a very warped and extreme view of what Islam is. Isn't that a major part of the problem here?
Pierce, with due respect to you, I don't know where you have found, and do you have any evidence to suggest? And if you know of a mosque like this, please let me know. I'll be the first one to go and not only protest, but demand its closure. I don't know of mosques who do that in this country. We are all together. As an imam, I preach in several mosques across London. All of us preach one single thing, and that is, if you want to be a good Muslim, a true Muslim, you must submit to a peaceful life internally and must do everything possible to establish peace and fairness around you. Anyone who does what we're all together in condemning, they don't become radicalized because of mosques. They're actually radicalized because of the internet and the widespread outside influences that we see that emanate from the webs.
Okay, let me stop you. Okay, that all sounds, again, that sounds great, but we know that a lot of these attackers were regular attendees of mosques. We also know we've had lots of hate preaching in this country, Abu Hamza and others being allowed to spout their vile rhetoric, inflaming extremism. We also know, and I mean, look, I can't just let you get away with saying there's no Wahhabist preaching in this country, there are no Wahhabist mosques, because we know there are. We know they're being funded by the Saudis. We know that this is happening. For you to sit there or stand there and just say blindly it's not happening at all means either you've got your head in the sand or you just don't want to recognise this problem.
Because I didn't say any of that. I said, if you know of a mosque, please tell me. And if you can tell me, I would be the first one to go and demand its closure and stop. But you haven't said that. I'm saying something simple. I'm saying in this country, Abu Hamza and the nutters like them have been locked up, sent away, and they're rotting in prison, I think 10 years or longer ago. So 10 years on, and thousands of pounds, actually millions of pounds have been spent in protecting our society, in making sure we eradicate and deal with extremism and terrorism, and yet we have failed, it looks like. So don't apportion the blame on the Muslims or the mosques, when mosques and the Muslim communities have played a huge and significant role in keeping our community safe. Those people who come to those mosques, we get, for example, in my mosque where we are right now, we get thousands of worshippers. We don't vet every single person, just like we don't vet anyone going to a church or a Sikh Gurdwara or a synagogue for that matter. People come by their own volition. Our imams teach what Quran says very clearly, what the teachings of the Prophet is. And the teaching of Quran is, if you take one life, it is like taking the lives of the entire humanity. If you save one life, it is like saving the lives of the entire humanity. This is our home, Pierce. Britain is my home. It would be foolish for anyone to suggest, any Muslim or people of other faiths, to suggest that we could even imagine attacking our own home. And anyone who does that, they're doing it because of their own motivation, and they're being radicalized on the net.
You say it's unthinkable that any Muslim would do this, and yet all these attacks are being carried out by radicalized young Muslims who have been buying into a warped ideology, a warped version of Islam, propagated by ISIS, propagated by the Wahhabist teachings. And again, I say to you, this is the problem, is that they are getting brainwashed. And we can all mourn the dead when these attacks happen. We've now had 3 in a few weeks, right? There are 23,000 people in this country right now that the authorities suspect may have jihadist tendencies. This is an absolute tinderbox. And what people want to know, watching this programme this morning, is what is everyone going to do about it? But in particular, what are the Muslim communities from where these people are living and where they are clearly somehow getting brainwashed? What more can they be doing collectively, with our help if necessary, to try and root them out and stop them before they kill?
Let me ask you the same question in return. If we don't like Saudi Arabia and its foreign policies, or the way it deals with and preaches and teaches, if we don't like the Qataris, if we don't like the Egyptians, the North Africans, why are we so eager in selling them arms? Why are we so eager, Britain and America, in propping them up? Why are we so eager in supporting dictators and despots across the globe? We need to be consistent with our own philosophy. We believe in rule of law and democracy and freedom for all people. And if those unsavory governments don't believe in them, then let's sever our relationship with them and say, look, enough is enough. Just like Theresa May said, we don't want to deal with you anymore because you are not only a menace to our world, but you're a threat to our own country. But our government isn't going to do that. In fact, Donald Trump just signed a blank check to one of the Middle Eastern governments, selling them arms. So, Piers, if you want to talk about foreign policies, we can. And our problem in this country, and what we are facing right now, the problem of terrorism and extremism, isn't emanating only from foreign policies. I agree that these, and if they do exist, we need to work together to root them out of our country. I could have been a victim. Anybody could have been a victim. And terrorism doesn't have a religion, as you know. We need to be really together. So let's create an inclusive narrative. Let's fight together. Let's drown the voices of extremism. Let's secure our streets. Let's equip our police services, our security services. Let's bring the community policing back on. Let's empower the mosques and the imams. Let's work together, and let's not blame the other. Because if we blame the other, the terrorists have won, and that's exactly why they do what they do, and that is to divide us, to destroy our unity, and most importantly, to destroy our country.
Okay, Imam, listen, you've raised a lot of very good points there, and let me reiterate that I'm absolutely on the side of any decent law-abiding Muslim, of which the vast majority are. But we cannot keep hiding, of course, the reality, which that all these attacks, without exception, are being carried out by radicalised young Muslims. And that is the problem this country is now facing. It's a problem for you, it's a problem for us, it's a problem with anyone with families, yes. And we have to somehow get to the brains of these murderous barbarians before they commit their atrocities and try and convince them of another way. My final question to you is this. In terms of how you do that, in terms of how we somehow realign the thought process of these radicalised young people who think the only way to advance the cause of their belief of Islam is to commit mass murder, what do you think the best way to do that is?
I've just said, and I'll say it again, we need to, of course, educate our children, our families, but the first thing we need to do is create a new language. You've just used the wrong one yourself, Piers. You've talked about you and us. Why are you dividing us? We're together. We are British. We belong to this country. It's a problem for all of us. Whether they are Muslim, Christian, Jewish or Hindu or Sikh, if there is trouble, we need to deal with it together. Let's not blame the Muslims alone. We didn't blame the Christians for the IRA attacks. We didn't blame the Christians for the Ku Klux murders that we saw a long time ago.
Hang on, wait a minute. The IRA attacks were not being committed in the name of religion. This is the whole point. And we can again... Yeah, but there's no comparison, because the IRA were not blowing things up in the name of religion. The people doing these acts are committing mass murder in what they claim to be the name of their religion. That is the particular problem that we're facing. And that is why when you say,
I hear you.
It's not them and us, we're all British, I get that, but there are large sections, yes, I'm afraid, of the British Muslim community right now who, for whatever reason, feel so disenfranchised with the way this country is that they want to kill and maim us, and it has to stop.
I agree, and again, emotive word, large section of British Muslim community. You're giving a huge description of a community of 3 million here. Large, what is the number of large? I believe vast majority of us are very concerned. In fact, as anyone that I've met are very concerned about what's going on in this country. Would you believe, when we heard the incident, I was in the mosque, I was praying, and there were thousands of other people in this country praying, and in our mosque congregation, everybody's breath, we stopped breathing, aghast, in horror, in shock. Oh my God, not another attack. So we feel the same way. So to deal with it is to create that inclusive narrative, just like I've been saying from the beginning. To say we can deal with it. Yes, you're right. How do we re-educate our kids? How do we re-educate everybody? Any extremism should be rooted out from our society. We need to tackle them, from our narrative creators, from our media pundits to our politicians to our ordinary people. We need to create more harmonious working relationship. It's not happening. Our integration is not taking place enough. There is an expectation that ethnic minorities, in quote unquote, would integrate, but that's not how integration works. Integration is a two-way street. I'm going to speak my mind, and I'm going to speak from the pulpit as loud as I can. This is my home. British people are my people, and I will do everything possible to make sure my country and my people are safe. And anyone who doesn't like Britain, do me a favour, return your passport and leave. Okay. We've been saying this for a long time. Those nutters, P.S., those nutters who don't like us, we have a clear message for them. You don't belong here.
Imam, Ajmal Masroor, I like those words. Keep doing your good work. Spread that message. Any help you need to help do this, let us know. We're all in this together, but we appreciate your candor. Thank you.